Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about some natural disasters in Chile. I feel that a lot of people come into Chile, they have this feeling that Chile is not a very safe country and there are a lot of earthquakes and you can die any day. So you have to be prepared for the worst every time you come here. So I really want to talk about it. First things first, of course, the most popular, I think everybody in the world knows it about Chile, that there are a lot of earthquakes. And yes, it is true. There is always a possibility of a big, all-destructive earthquake. The last one was about 8 years ago. They don't happen very often, but there's always a possibility. The possibility is the brick is gonna fall on you while you're walking down the street. Kind of the same. Another thing is that it is true that here are a lot of small and medium earthquakes. Here in Chile, people don't even call them earthquakes. Yeah, this is not a terremoto, this is temblor. So it's a little bit of shaking. Every day there is an earthquake somewhere in the country. The other thing is that most of the earthquakes, me, for example, as a normal citizen of Santiago, I don't even feel them. Some of them I feel them, but nothing falls from the shelves, nothing bad happens, thank God. And you just feel like a little shaken. Calm down. Nothing more. So it doesn't bother you, it doesn't turn off the water in your or electricity in your house, in your building, nothing like that. It's just a little bit of shaking that lasts for 1 minute and then it goes away. If you have a local SIM card, you will have an alert on your phone about the coming earthquake, so you can always prepare yourself. They will always tell you how big is it going to be, when approximately is it going to be, so you can always prepare yourself. And coming to Chile, if you're going to stay here for a long time, you need to just know the protocol of what to do when an earthquake comes. For example, if it's just a small one, you stay at home or wherever you are, you do nothing. If it's a bigger one, there are some special places in the city that are free of any structures, and these are the places where people should run in case of a big earthquake. So make sure you know all the rules of survival during the earthquake and you're gonna be totally fine. The other thing is that because of the earthquake, you can have tsunamis if you're on the beach. So just when you're coming to the beach, you will see a lot of signs pointing the direction where to run in case of tsunami. Again, don't be afraid of it. It has to be quite a big earthquake to produce a tsunami, and you always run up the hill to save yourself. Plus, don't be afraid if you're living in kind of modern apartment building or a house in Chile, because most of them are built so that they can survive earthquakes. Maybe you remember I have been telling about the cathedrals here and that they were destroyed during the earthquakes. Well, because people didn't know that earthquakes exist here in Chile when they were building them, and also because they didn't know how to build to help the structure survive. Now everything is well known, and you will even see during the big earthquake that the building is kind of moving, like it's standing on some balls, like a special structure down there, so that it doesn't fall, it doesn't break, but it will be moving with the movement of the earth. Sounds scary, but in reality, the earthquakes that I felt and went to check on my kids, in 4 years I had only 3. So there is a chance you come to Chile and you will not feel even a little shaking. So don't worry about it. While I'm speaking about earthquakes, let's speak also a little bit more about tsunamis. Just when you're at the beach, make sure you notice these signs and keep an eye on the locals. That's the best advice in any situation, earthquake and tsunami, in any way. Keep an eye on the locals, because the Chilean people, they live here all their lives. They know what tsunami looks like, they know what an earthquake looks like, they know what a big destructive earthquake looks like. So if they run. If they're calmly playing with their kids, don't worry. Number 3 in my list of natural disasters is floods. I have been saying a lot that there are not a lot of rains in Santiago, and when it's raining, the life stops here and people panic and everything. But the point is that on the south, there are a lot of rains. And for example, this year, there were so many rains that we had a big flood in the south of Chile. And a lot of people had to be evacuated. They lost their houses, so it was a pretty devastating situation, which happened this winter. But again, the floods, they are not in all the country, and usually they're not that massive. So for example, in 4 years that I live here, this is the first time that the flood was that big. If you're living on the north of the Chile, most probably you will suffer from drought than from flood. So completely depends where you live. If you live in Santiago, we had a little issue with the river, when from like one little stream it became a real river, and there were a lot of homeless people living next to it, so they kind of didn't expect it and their houses got flooded. But that's it. Number 4 is volcanic activity. Yes, there are a lot of volcanoes in Chile. Not all of them are active. The most active ones on the south of Chile, and Copahue. This is the volcano that is near Argentina. Like if you're going from Chile to Argentina, there is going to be this volcano. So the volcano Copahue and a chain of volcanoes on the south of Chile, they are still active. And they erupt periodically. Again, keep an eye on the locals. But again, you have to be like extremely unlucky to be on the volcano at the moment when it erupts, and nobody knew that it's going to erupt beforehand. So it's almost impossible. Another thing that happens here is landslides. This happens more often because, Chile, there are a lot of mountains and there are a lot of mountain roads. For example, last weekend we were trying to get to the snow, and we came to the road, and the road was blocked in the mountains because of the landslide. So there were so many rocks on it, it was impossible to clear it out. They had to just close the road. These things happen. In most of the cases, the mountains near the roads are protected with a net so that nothing falls on the cars. But yeah, if you live in the mountain area, keep an eye on it. And we even had a case recently in Viña del Mar, if I remember correctly, that part of the mountain where the tall apartment building was standing, it got the landslide. So there became like a little hole under the apartment building. But again, these cases are very rare. More often you will see it in the mountains, in mountain areas near the roads. Me, for example, I'm still terrified to drive on the mountain roads because you can imagine I come from Russia. We don't have that many mountains. I prefer fields, open areas, cities to drive, and then the mountains. But for the locals, it's not a big deal. And the last on my list, the one that affects you as tourists or people who want to live in Chile and locals the most are the wildfires. Unfortunately, wildfires happen here very often. They happen here every summer. Now we have very hot summers and very dry. You can imagine that, for example, in Santiago, the first rain of the year you will get in the middle, at the end of winter. So all the rest of the year is extremely dry. The areas near Santiago, the hills, they have a lot of dried out grass, trees, bushes, So the reason, it's not necessarily like some person who started the fire. It can be completely naturally provoked. But wildfires are very, very common here. Usually it's between December, February when they appear. December and January being like the peak of the wildfire. And how it can affect you as a tourist who comes to Chile, well, some natural parks, some roads can be closed. People can be evacuated from particular areas where the fire come into the houses already. Or if you're living in Santiago and staying in Santiago for that period of time, you can get some smoke coming into the city. So you can even see going, for example, in the mountains or in the hills near the city, you will see the difference between the city air and the mountain air. The city air being completely smoky and gray. There is an organization which is called CONAF. You will see a lot of their advertisements while you are driving through Chile. This is the organization that keeps an eye on the wildfire, and that is responsible for the wildlife in Chile. So yeah, you can be completely sure that Chile takes care of the nature. They do try to prevent all the wildfires. Obviously, it's impossible, especially in such a dry and warm climate. So yeah, it happens. After the fires, the forest fires, most of the forests are being replanted. So, yeah, people really do care about nature here. And if the risk of the wildfire is too high, people will close some roads or some natural parks. So if you're coming here during the summer period, make sure to check first online if the natural park where you're coming is open or closed due to wildfire. That is it for today. These are all the natural disasters that can happen to you in Chile. As you can see, nothing very drastic, nothing very bad. So just make sure to be safe and don't be afraid to come. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.